What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. So I've been living in Europe for around 5 years now, more specifically in Finland. And I'm originally from South Africa. And I really love South Africa. I love the vibe, I love the people and the culture. But the question I want to ask is, would I ever move back? Let's figure that out. I saw a video on TikTok that I found quite funny and interesting. It's a South African girl asking the question, why would anyone ever leave South Africa? So I want to react to that a little bit and hopefully talk through a little bit of that. So let's get it.
Okay, I know I'm really shouting into the void with this opinion, and I know I'm asking for trouble by expressing this, but I just can't stop thinking about all the people that move from South Africa to the UK.
What's wrong with the UK? I've actually never been to the UK. The last time I tried to go there, my visa got denied for some reason. The reason they gave me is the fact that I couldn't prove that I wouldn't just live there. Like I wouldn't just illegally move there. And I was like, yo, I've got an apartment in Helsinki. I've got a full-time job and everything. Like, what are you even going on about? So you can say anything bad about the UK. I don't care about the UK. As you can see, I'm a little bit salty about that.
Canada or those fancy European countries understand the practical side.
There are definitely some practical sides for why one would want to leave South Africa and move somewhere else. I'm sure she'll dive into it.
Currency, better money, better job opportunities, safety.
Listen, hang on. We can't just scroll over or overlook safety. Safety is probably one of the biggest contributors to feeling happy where you live or to feeling content. Having lived in South Africa for ages, the one thing you always think about is your safety. I have been so absolutely, spoiled while living here. The fact that I don't have to worry about my phone being taken out of my pocket while I'm out somewhere. I can't tell you how many times, I can't tell you, about 3 times I've had a phone in my pocket in South Africa and I've been at like some sort of party or a club or something. And I'll be out having a good time, drinking, partying. And then after a bit of time, I reach into my pocket for my phone and it's just gone. It's very hard to describe how terrible that feels. You just because your phone is like an extension of who you are. And the fact that someone can just reach in and take your thing, something that you own and probably worked for, it makes you feel a little bit violated, But having said that, the parties are great. But safety is very important, and I don't want to just scroll past that. That in itself is a reason for why someone might want to move, and I don't blame them for it.
Makes sense, but I'm like, to all the people that can help it, what about the vibes?
What about the vibes? Okay, she's got a point in this. South Africa definitely has some really cool vibes. I think it's because the people are so open and so easygoing in general. I'd be waiting for a bus and random people just come speak to me, and you could even meet someone at the bus stop, have a conversation, and next thing you guys go out and have a beer the next day or something like that. And those sort of things don't usually happen here. And I think something else that adds to the vibe is the diversity of people. There are so many different types of people who live within South Africa that you can go to different cities or different areas and have a completely different experience of South Africa, and it makes things feel very dynamic and vibrant. Whereas somewhere like, say, here in Finland, no matter where you go, people are generally kind of the same. I don't know. I hope you don't take that. I hope Finnish people don't take that offensively. But I just mean I can kind of guess the vibe that a Finnish person would give, no matter where I am in Finland. I probably know that they don't want to just randomly start talking at a bus stop. I probably know that they are quite reserved, and after a couple of drinks, they might open up a little bit. And of course, there are different people here as well. But let's just say I can better guess what a Finnish person will be like in different parts of Finland than I could how a South African would be in different parts of different cities. You know, it's very diverse. It adds a lot of color and vibrancy. People are really open. So the vibe, I'm not gonna lie, the vibe is there.
Don't you miss the vibes? Don't you?
I do kind of miss the vibes. You see, I'm a musician, and in South Africa, I used to perform quite a lot. For a while, that's how I actually made my living, just playing around South Africa. And I must say, the place where you can see the different vibes way more clearly is in shows. In South Africa, you'll be out performing and people are really just vibing with you. I can't tell you how many times I'll be performing and someone will just get up and start dancing, or a bunch of people start dancing and clapping and just vibing, and people can dance. Guys, this is not, I'm not attacking anyone here, but South Africans can dance. Even white South Africans. So there is a sense of missing the vibe there. And whereas in here, when I've performed in different places here in Finland, it's just very different, man. I'm sure I don't need to explain, but for people who are watching from different parts of the world, it's just the crowds here are very reserved. The most you'll get out of them sometimes is clapping along. I know that sounds really bad, but I mean, I don't know how to, I can just call a spade a spade. You know, I was on The Voice of Finland actually a couple years ago, and no matter how hyped the song is, the crowd, the best that they can do is stand up and then clap, you know. Whereas in South Africa, people rarely go for it and just let loose, and there is a real energy to the people there. So I agree with her in certain aspects.
Us living in a country with wild animals. Don't you miss the train?
Living in a country with wild animals? Is that what she said? No, I did not miss living with wild animals. You know, this gives the impression that when you go to South Africa, people are riding elephants and have lions as pets and that sort of stuff. No. Just so you know, South Africa is quite built up in a lot of areas, where the city I was living in before moving here was Cape Town. And Cape Town has been voted as one of the most beautiful countries on the planet on multiple occasions. So I don't know where the whole wild animals thing comes from.
Being a little bit late, the thrill, the fierce.
Do I miss trains being a little bit late? Number one, I never really caught trains in South Africa. The metro there is not like the metro here. The only train I've taken is from the airport in Johannesburg. From Johannesburg to a city called Pretoria. It's like an upper class train, which is basically like normal trains here in Finland. And that one is actually kind of all right. It's a very upper class kind of train. It's called the How train. But there are other trains, other metros that you can take. I went from Cape Town to a small little town called Stellenbosch, and you have to take a train. It takes a little over an hour, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. But yeah, no, it is not a great experience. and it's actually quite dangerous. I remember ages ago taking that train, and we got confronted by some sort of gang member. I was with a friend of mine, and this dude wanted to take his phone. This guy had like a tattoo of a tear by his eye, and I'm not familiar with gang tattoos and stuff, but that definitely didn't give me hope that this person was kind and nice and stuff. But long story short, my friend's phone got stolen, and it was just such a terrible trip. So I do not take those trains. I hate those trains, and they get so full. Like, oh my word, I'll see if I can't find any video footage of how full the trains can get when, especially in Cape Town, traveling from Cape Town to Stellenbosch. You've actually got people who are hanging outside of the train and stuff, and it's not a nice experience. I'll just say that. So I do not miss the trains. I do not miss them being late, because I wouldn't take them anyway. I would rather pay a lot more money to take a cab or something. Trust me. If you ever visit South Africa, do not take the train from Cape Town to Stellenbosch unless you're with a massive crowd of people or something. It's not a good experience. No offense, regardless of the people being, in general in South Africa, people being nice, but that commute is a nightmare.
December, Thursdays. I can't express it, but like...
In South Africa, we've got, on Thursdays, there's usually like a vibe where everyone goes out to bars and stuff. I think it's called, I forgot the name. It's so strange. It's been so long since I've been there that I'm forgetting like normal stuff, like normal experiences of having lived in South Africa. But on Thursdays, you go out to bars and stuff, and it's like a whole vibe. It's quite nice, actually. I do kind of miss that.
You go from this to like Denmark. Like, aren't you bored? If I move somewhere overseas, it has to match South Africa's chaos and wildness and chaos, or top it.
I don't feel bored. In fact, in the place I find myself in my life now, I feel like I hardly have time to just relax, to be honest. If you're enjoying this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you feel like supporting me, I just did this thing where you can now buy me a coffee. I'll put the link somewhere below. And I've also got merchandise, which is really great. And I'm trying all of this so that I can hopefully start doing this a lot more full time. So I really appreciate your support, and thank you very much. To her point about the vibes, the excitement in South Africa, it's true. It's very hard to be bored in South Africa because something's always happening, whether it's good or bad. The way I try and describe it is that when you go to a place that is very safe, you do miss out on some of the unpredictability. A night out in South Africa is very different to a night out in Finland. In Finland, I can kind of guess how the evening's going to go. You go out, you have a couple drinks, you drink some more, you use a lot of money for drinks, right? And if you guys are still feeling it, you'll leave the bar and maybe go to a place that's a little bit more vibrant, like a club or something, or a karaoke bar. Karaoke here in Finland. In South Africa, karaoke is, so far as I remember, a lot of old people who don't have much to do usually do it. They, like on a Sunday, you would be walking past these dingy old kind of bars, and there's just some old people chilling there and singing and stuff. So moving here and seeing that young people are like, woo, let's go to karaoke, was a bit of a shock to me. But you kind of know how an evening's going to end up. And if it gets really crazy, you might end up at like an after party or something, or at some late night or early morning club or something like that. And it's quite predictable in general. Whereas in South Africa, there's a lot that can be said about how spontaneous people are. Things can happen. You're out in the evening, and before you know it, you're in a different part of the city, and you're with a whole group of people, and you're at a different club, and then you guys go somewhere else, and you meet a whole bunch of different interesting people, and people really open and keen to talk to you, and it adds that excitement to it, things are unpredictable. But I guess the dark side of that is that you can end up either in an evening like that where things are unpredictable and go great, or you can end up in an evening where the unpredictability turns very negative. And when it turns negative, it's really bad. And yeah, I've had those experiences before, and let me know if you want me to tell some of these stories below, and I will tell you some of the things that I've experienced. But so it's a bit of a coin flip, as to how an evening's gonna go.
I can't now go to Finland. Do you know what I mean?
Excuse me, young lady, I do not understand what you mean. How dare you say something bad about Finland? To be honest, before I moved here, I knew nothing about Finland. I thought Finland was this obscure little place where people are riding polar bears and speaking in some strange language, living in igloos. The only thing I got right about that is the strange language. But I understand what she's saying, and aspects of it is true in terms of the vibe and that sort of stuff. And you basically have to choose between safety and a bit of monotony, or not being so safe, but your life spicy with excitement, whether it's good or bad. And I have asked myself the question before, do I miss South Africa? And for me, choosing between safety and unpredictability, I'm going to go with safety, because something you need to understand about South Africa is that it's quite possible to live in a bubble in South Africa, especially if you grew up in a family that's quite wealthy. There are like these communities that you can live in. I forgot what it's called, but when you've got a whole bunch of apartments or houses, and then it's surrounded by some big wall or something like that. I forgot the word for it, I'm sorry. But it's very possible to live in a community like that, and you still get some of the excitement, but you can kind of hide back behind those walls a little bit. And if you live a life like that in South Africa, I can completely understand why you would be like, yo, I want the excitement and the safety. And it's true. But for me, living in South Africa, I did not live in that sort of that sort of bubble. And I grew up quite poor. So I had to take public transport and be around areas that are not considered particularly safe, to be honest. So I experienced muggings and stuff. Like, I've been attacked quite a few times where I've gotten my phone stolen or like a bag stolen and things like that. So my view is a little bit different. I saw that aspect of South Africa, and I definitely didn't dig it. But I also really enjoy the vibes. But now that I'm older and stuff, I'll choose safety every time. I just love how there's so many things here that I don't have to think about anymore. The fact that, I can go out walking at night, and if I see someone walking in a hood behind me, I'm not immediately in a defensive mood, like the fight or flight mode or anything like that. To be honest, I still have hints of that, but it's such a relief to not have to think about that, you know? And also there's the racial aspect of things that I don't have to think about. You would think that living in a predominantly white country, I'd be constantly reminded of my skin color and feel like I'm an outsider or anything like that. But hey, it's been the opposite. I feel like one of the Finns while living here and just enjoying my life in general. But to answer the question, I could move back to South Africa if things go tits up here and I'm kicked out of the country. Of course, I wouldn't have any other choice. I would go back. It's not like I am telling myself I would never move back. But if I were given the choice, I don't think I would, to be honest, because life here is just so good and I'm really at peace here. I can focus on trying to build my life, trying to become more financially stable. I have faith in the government in general. Don't at me about the government right now. I don't know. Maybe I'll cover that in other videos. But in short, South Africa is an incredibly beautiful country with very beautiful people. But I think the corruption in the country has so negatively affected the people and the vibe, in my opinion, that it's just not a viable place for me to live properly and in peace. And it makes me really sad because if South Africa did a good job in after apartheid, taking care of its people, taking care of the economy, if the government wasn't so corrupt, South Africa would genuinely be one of the best countries on the planet. And I say that from the bottom of my heart. The vibes, I promise you, they are very real. I haven't been in a while and I plan to visit my family soon, hopefully in April. But the people are so great. The music, the culture, it's beautiful. The food, don't even try and remind me about the food. The diversity of people, all those things are fantastic. But unfortunately, the country has been so negatively impacted by corruption that it genuinely breaks my heart how much unemployment there is, and that affects the crime rates, and the government is just in it for itself. And I'm someone who usually has a lot of hope, but more recently I have felt a lot more pessimistic about South Africa, if I'm being honest, and it makes me sad to admit that. But I do hope the best for South Africa, and I've still got family there, and I still want to visit and all that sort of stuff. But for now, there's no chance I would willingly go back and live there just for the vibes. You know, I'm quite happy to have an apartment here, to go visit and to come back to the safety of Finland. And also, you know, boredom, my friends, is a state of mind. And you can at me, but you won't convince me otherwise. And of course, there have been times here, especially in wintertime, where things are so dark and cold and stuff that you mostly stay at home or something like that. But man, it doesn't change anything for me. I love South Africa, but Finland is now my home, which is a strange thing to say. A couple years ago, I would never have imagined myself saying that. I'm really happy to be here, and I wouldn't change anything, to be honest. So I'm happy here, and I am not bored, and I've got enough of my own vibes to create a community of vibes. I've got my own inner vibrancy, so it doesn't matter. And also, I know a couple South Africans here, so I still have the best of both worlds. The best of both worlds. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know below some of your thoughts. Have you been to South Africa? Have you been to Finland? Let me know your thoughts below. And let me know what else you would want me to make a video about. Is there anything interesting you want me to talk about? Any stories you want me to tell? But otherwise, you guys are awesome. Have a beautiful day, evening, or whenever you watch this from wherever you are in the world. Be blessed. Peace. Peace. Wait, which one is it? Oh yeah, peace. Ciao.